All right, we want to start on time. Welcome everyone to our Q&A and meet and greet for our candidates that are here and will be serving schools in Highland. I'm Rochelle Smith. I'm the Advocacy Vice President for the Lone Peak Council. Lone Peak Council supports all the schools that feed into Lone Peak, and then Janice, our president, is over in seat 4 because that's where she lives. We are grateful to have Terry from the Provost School Board who's going to be moderating for us today, and so I will turn the time over to her.
All right. Welcome everyone. I want to thank the PTA for hosting this and the junior high. So this is what the PTA wanted me to say to all of you. Maybe did they push record?
Yep, they're recording.
Okay, we have 2 goals for this evening. Voters to get to know the candidates, their skills, ideas, and visions. And 2, voters better understand the role of a school board member and what they can and can't do. The 4 primary responsibilities of school district board members are to 1, advocate for constituents, residents, teachers, students. 2, provide budget oversight and input. 3, approve policies. And 4, hire the district superintendent and business administrator. And for those who don't know, the superintendent is like the CEO of the school district, responsible for the overall leadership, management, and vision of the district's education programs and operations. They work with the school board to develop and implement policies and manage budgets and ensure compliance in educational standards and regulations. The business administrator manages the financial, operational, and administrative aspects of the school or school district. They oversee budgets, payroll, purchasing, and facilities management, ensuring the schools run efficiently and effectively. So we want to thank you to the candidates for being willing to create a new school district, and let's get to know them. Each candidate will have basically 1 minute to introduce themselves, and 1 minute and 15 seconds to answer the questions, and 2 minutes to summarize. And Michelle is our timer. Okay, so in the order of answering questions is Jonathan, Nikki, and Mary. Okay?
Hello, my name is Jonathan Bejarano. I'm a lead software developer with an MBA. I have taught computer programming boot camps for the University of Utah and also have developed a software architecture course for BYU and taught it. I went to Olympus High School in Granite School District. I have 6 kids at public schools here in Highland, and that's why I'm interested and involved in the education community. I listen to board meetings, I download them to my phone. We've got legislative meetings as well. I regularly make comments and write letters about policies and legislation that affect education. I also served as the chair for many years for the SCC at Highland Elementary, or School Community Council. We looked at the data to set goals to improve educational outcomes. I am running for school board because I want the schools to continue to be excellent for my kids, for your kids, and the thousands of kids that will come afterwards in the new Aspen Peak School District.
Hi, my name is Nicki Brammer. I'm a longtime Highland resident and mother of 5 kids entering 12th grade, 8th grade, and 3rd grade this next year. I've served in every school that my kids have attended. They've been at Highland, Westfield, Mountainville Academy. They've been at Timberline and Lone Peak and Highland Elementary. I don't know if I said that. I've been able to serve in the classrooms as a take-home library volunteer, a reading tutor, a junior achievement instructor, an art docent for the Great Artist Program, and I've been able to help with various PT activities ranging from teacher appreciation weeks to hawk walks to field days, and I've loved every minute of it. I've served at school community councils at Highland Elementary and Timberline, and I really appreciated that because I was able to advocate for student learning outcomes, support teachers, and approve certain school funding plans with the additional funds that come through SITLA funding. Most recently, I served as the president of the Utah Association for Gifted Children, where I work with the gifted coordinators at school districts all over Utah. I also work with the parent and student communities. So I'm just excited to contribute some of my experiences, help build this new school district. I hope that we can make it excellent in every way imaginable, and I'm all ears to know how we can do that. Thank you.
Hi, I am Mary Thomas, and I have, we've lived here almost 23 years, and all 5 of our kids have gone to Ridgeline, Timberline, and Lone Peak. And I have been also very involved in volunteer and PTA and just an advocate for our community. I was PTA president at Ridgeline for a couple of years, and I was just recently PTA SA president at Lone Peak. So I really love the teachers and staff and have just a great appreciation for the support that the parents give the teachers and staff, and have really grown to know. I was also for 3 years on the community council, which is all the schools that feed into Lone Peak. So I've gotten to know a lot of principals, a lot of staff and teachers. So I am deeply interested in making a very smooth transition. I have loved Alpine School District's goals and their way of doing things. It was obviously time to probably have a little bit of a change, but I really love how it ran, and I'm hoping to continue. And there are high standards of academics, and I would really love to see a smooth transition. That's it.
All right, all the candidates will be answering this first question, and Jonathan is up first. Can you share an example of how you have advocated for a group or cause in the past and how that experience would inform your work on the school board?
Yes, in 2019, the Utah State Legislature passed tax reform. It would be devastating for public education and would inevitably lead to higher property taxes. Since the vote was not the 2/3 supermajority, Fred Cox filed for a referendum. I joined in the fight. I picked up packets from now Representative Judy Weeks-Rohner and went to work collecting signatures. I recruited volunteers online from Facebook, and I set up a spreadsheet. I had many people share that online so they could see what the tax reform would actually do to each family's budget. So many people were surprised. And basically, we were able to get into the Highland City office, not in front of the library, and we got so reputable that we're actually able to get into the Macy's grocery store. I asked the manager, I remember, can we set up our table over there? He said yes, because the food tax they were going to put on would be devastating, also for families. And so we were able to do the impossible. We collected the signatures, and the legislature repealed the reform.
Thank you.
All right, I love this question because I feel like I've been advocating for students and teachers for several years now. In fall of 2023, the Alpine School District leadership announced that they were going to close the gifted programs at Westfield Elementary and Cedar Ridge. Understandably, those programs are programs that students have to qualify for. And in a lot of cases, parents will move to live nearby those schools so that they can be in district. And so when parents started to be concerned about this, we scheduled town hall meetings at Westfield as well as Cedar Ridge with our school board members. We were able to get together about 100 parents between the two schools. And then we also coordinated. We sought data from each of the schools to know how many qualified, and then we kind of mobilized to give public comment. And we also scheduled meetings with the PTA president and myself to meet with the superintendent and the director of student equity at the time to talk about how it was really important that we continue providing these services. The good news is in the end they decided to pause those school closures, and we continue to have those programs available for students today.
Hi. Oh, that's a little close. So, Mine is more in hands-on. I have been in the schools, and when I was part of the PTA at Lone PTSA, there was a disconnect between the staff, admin, and teachers and the PTA. And when I came in, they said, this is not going to change. There's not going to be, this is how it is, and you just deal with it. And I was like, no, we are a family here, and we need to have connection, and we need to know the parents, the students, the staff and teachers, we all need to unite to get the very best possible education for our children, and we want the teachers to be happy. So I asked about what they needed, what do the teachers need, and this is the first time they've been asked that. And it was simple things like a warm meal. They really wanted a warm meal. Teacher appreciation, they would like actually something to take home. And by the end, we had 6 people that were part of our PTA, and then at the end, we had 70%.
Okay, this question is for Nicki and Mary. What experience do you have with financial oversight or budget management, and how will you apply it as a board member?
Okay, thank you. So many years ago, in fact, shortly after moving to Highland, I looked around and there was no Montessori school available. The nearest one was in Linden. And I decided that I was going to start a Montessori school. And so I received the certifications I needed to, got the business license. I created the business plan to be able to run that school. And it was wonderful. I had to purchase and research all of my own educational materials, plan out the curriculum. I had to research and purchase insurance in order to run that. And so I feel like running the budgets for Mighty Montessori, which was the name of my school, allowed me to see what all the startup costs are. Additionally, outside of education, I've run several statewide conventions with various budgets. The first year my budget was about $200,000, and the second year it was under $50,000. So I'm adept with changing budgets and making new plans as needed. Finally, with the Department of Education changes that we're seeing, I'd like to offer that I understand that some of those changes may fall back on the state legislature.
Thank you.
I feel like I have the relationships to help bring more funds if needed.
Okay, so we had a really fun year at PTA where our funding comes from family donations and from the PTSA dues. This year we had a disconnect with how to collect them. It was a new way, and we had 1/3 of the people join. So we had 1/3 of our budget. I sat down with my board and I said, listen, you guys, and it's a pretty hefty budget. We provide a lot of programs and a lot of scholarships for teachers and students. And I said, we're gonna get creative. You are all smart. We know ways to do this. Let's work really hard. Let's ask for donations, volunteers. Let's use all the resources we have. We ended that year, this year, with $2,000 more than we started. Collaboration is where it's at, and finding expertise and those around you who know what they're doing and have abilities and talents. The collaboration is how you get everything done.
Hey, Jonathan, what is your ultimate goal driving your decisions to allocate funds?
Yes, the only magic bullet that we really have in all of education research has been lowering class sizes. So smaller class sizes will improve our academic performance. So I'd like to tell you my experience in SCC. I only got one real legitimate phone call that wasn't asking for gift cards. I don't know if you had that experience. But the call was a plea for help because their kid was in a class of 41 students. That is not acceptable, and that's why I'm running. And I feel like that we can drive that through efficiency, working with the state legislature to increase funding. We can streamline our funding on the district level, and we can negotiate with neighboring school districts to work together. We can also leverage our economies of scale. We'll be the largest school district after this split of the three. And we can also make sure that we're sending money to the classrooms as much as possible. And so we can hire more FTEs to address the need. And I feel like that when you have everyone on board with that as a school district, that we can make a huge difference and make some big outcomes for some students that really need it.
Okay, everybody's answering the same question from now on. Mary, how do you assess the need for policy changes?
I love this question, and I feel like it's something that I'm really interested in. In fact, today I was just meeting with some admin talking about the needs assessment, and I was asking them, how do you come up with what needs to happen, the policy change? And a lot of it's a database. They showed me forms and people that educators that they use, and they themselves have, one example was, how do you limit and what's the best way to use cell phones in the school? And they have done some studies inside their school, and they found a really efficient way that both the teachers and the students feel satisfied. This is the way that I would do it. I would talk to the experts, which are the educators, and I would also address and talk to the parents and say, what are your concerns? And marry those two. I think that our whole purpose as a school board is to balance the needs of the admin and teachers and the needs of the students and parents.
Yes, so with the new school district, all policies need to be reviewed regularly. Some of them go out of date. And since we're inheriting all of these teachers, I assume policies as well, it's going to be really important. But given our short runway that we have of 18 months, we need to organize it in phases. So first we need to be focusing on legal compliance to make sure we have all of those policies in place. And then moving on to academic policies and then community engagement policies. So first we need to ensure full compliance with the law. As the legislature continues to make changes to code, the USBE or Utah State Board of Education will develop resources, they'll develop model policies that we can look at that are already approved by their AAG, so we can use those to get our needs met with the legal compliance. But also times are changing with generative AI. We have new ways to teach and new ways maybe to grade. And so as technology comes, in my job, the use of AI is actually mandatory. I have that email that I got last week, and things are changing. So we need to update policy 7250 to address the use of AI. And we need to work with all of our stakeholders to make sure that we have policies that are adapted to our local and specific needs.
Thank you for this question. Policy change ideas oftentimes come in externally from the legislature, but really policy change ideas can come from district leadership teams, they can come from parents, they can come from students. There was a great group of students that came in asking if we could change the scale of GPAs to a 5.0 scale instead of a 4.0 scale to accommodate AP and honors classes, which I grew up on that scale, and it was fantastic to encourage achievement. Policy change ideas may come in through teachers and other school board members, and we should consider them all. We truly should. I would assess all policy changes through various lenses. Here are some of the questions that I would use to begin consideration. Does the policy improve student safety? Does the policy improve student learning outcomes? Does the policy cost money, and where will those funds come from? Additionally, is there some other funding source outside of the district that we might be able to tap into if we can't simply move funds around inside of our district? Will this policy overburden teachers and other education professionals? Those are just a few of the questions that I would use when different groups bring those policies in.
Thank you. Okay, next question. First to, actually, Jonathan. Sorry. What qualities and experience do you believe are most important in a superintendent, and how will you evaluate whether a candidate is the right fit for the new school district?
So I reached out to Dr. Doty, who was the first superintendent at Canyons, and he agreed to talk with us, a few candidates. We learned a lot. Starting a new school district hasn't really happened a lot around the United States, and so his experience was invaluable. During his tenure, he faced a lot of arrows from people on both sides of the community who voted or didn't vote for the split. He talked about how important it is that we have a limited time frame before, he said, the cement quickens and the district becomes solidified in its existing practices. So who you vote for up here is going to have a big impact for a very, very long time. Also, we have to make sure that we have someone who has a calm temperament, who can remain professional when patrons may not be professional. We need to make sure that we have a superintendent who is willing to meet one-on-one with people and is willing to innovate, but also be practical and realistic. We need a superintendent who's experienced to working with 35,000 students. Also, we need one who has an eye on the special education community. Very important. They need to be familiar with the laws there and also have strategic planning skills. So I would consider all of those things: business acumen, operational efficiency, and educational leadership.
Thank you so much. So, having been president and founder of a few different educational organizations, I understand not only how to provide educational and curricular learning for students, but also that human capital, compensation, and professional supports are critical to attracting top talent who provide the excellent education to our students. So when we hire a superintendent, I will be looking for an individual who shares our community values, who has the ability to rally the troops and empower our teachers. And I'm hoping that he or she can create an environment where teachers feel like they are able to be supported and they love coming to work. As I've tried to kind of survey the teacher feedback on various educational websites and Facebook forums, I see that that's one of the biggest concerns of our teachers. When we were talking about the district split, I know one of the biggest concerns was teacher compensation and retirement benefits, and I will be looking for a superintendent who's able to lead us to make sure that we're able to support teachers with competitive compensation and honor those retirement benefits. Finally, I value a superintendent who wants to work with the community.
Thank you.
Honestly, they just summed up everything I was going to say. So the only thing that I would say is I really would love one who values the opinions of their constituents as well as their principals and their other academic advisors, and it really takes into account not just what is going to happen, it's happening right now financially, but is projecting in the future needs for the students, for the teachers, and for pretty much any eventuality. And I think that that forward momentum, which I think we really have had with the past superintendents, is going to carry us through and keep this inspiring, amazing community of learning.
Hey, Nikki, how will you ensure the business administrator is accountable and transparent? And how should they collaborate with the board and superintendent to support the new school district priorities?
Thank you for that question. To begin with, I think it's important that we all recognize that school districts put out their comprehensive budget on July 1st of each fiscal year, and it goes through June 30th of that year. And I think it's really important that as constituents, we all are able to read through that and understand how those business administrators are going to be maintaining the accounting for all of the goals of the district. As a school board, I know that we have school board meetings that are public twice a month, but before that we also have work sessions, and we also have committee meetings during the day. So in order to hire a business administrator who's accountable and transparent, I look forward to reviewing their reports at those meetings, understanding the budgets. As I have worked on large-scale budgets, it's not just a one-time budget, but you're also measuring the expense accounts as you're spending those budgets. Additionally, I would like to open up the hiring pool to business administrators that are inside of Utah as well as across the nation. And I'll be looking for experience inside of schools, in higher ed, and also in businesses that are familiar with public funding.
One of the things I think is, it's really complicated. There is around 41 different places that we fund our districts right now. So I would look for someone who's very aware of each area where we can get funds, and it's very limited. Like, one of them is transportation. You can only use it for this very specific area. So you would want someone who has a lot of experience specifically in the school district area and in the government and the oh my goodness, I can't remember. The lands and the GSSE, I can't remember. The main sources of our extra income. We really need someone who is aware of all the creative ways we can get funding and grants for every area, especially special ed and gifted and sports and music. Very, very important.
Just like to add, I visited with our Alpine School District business administrator, Jason Sundberg. I stepped into his office, and he's a very bright man. And I know that he has done a good job. And some of these things that I would look for are reflected in him, which are that he was able to answer my questions about why class sizes are the way they are. And so one of the things I liked about him is he was transparent. He showed me the school website, pointed me to the Google Drive, showed me the spreadsheets, showed me the formulas, and I was able to see how it worked, and I was able to ask questions and figure out how we could make it better. So a business administrator needs to do regular financial reporting to the board. They need to establish a regular schedule to show us their income, expenses, also budget variances and forecasts, how many students will be in our schools. They need to be able to communicate clearly and like Jason did, have a district website that has all of the things in accordance with the legal requirements. They also need to track performance metrics, so operational efficiency ratios, debt management, reserve funds, and conduct periodic internal audits to ensure compliance with policies.
Yeah, so Mary, what do you see as the top 3 priorities for the new school district in its first year?
I feel like the most important thing we can do is, obviously, other than hiring the superintendent and the business manager, is to make sure that we have a mission statement and goals for our district so that we can move forward and that we very clearly communicate that with all of our educators and our parents. And I feel like as we unify and have the goals of, for me, it would be making sure that we have teacher retention, which is salaries and retirement, making sure that's that. Secondly, that we make sure that all the programs that are very important to our community are continue to be funded. And the third one is to make sure that we have communication throughout all areas and that everyone knows what's happening and how we are moving forward and they feel represented.
So my top 3 priorities all fall under the umbrella of, let's make this as smooth as butter transition from ASD to Aspen Peaks. Still get those mixed up. We might change that name. But there are so many moving pieces and logistical concerns that once we get past the transition period, we can talk about larger changes. But for the first year, it is imperative that the school board does everything possible to get ready for August 2027, so that the kids keep on learning, the school buses run on time. So given that, my top 3 priorities are: number 1, select a highly qualified superintendent and business administrator. Number 2, retain and attract qualified teachers and staff. We need to make sure we have enough educators to decrease class sizes. And finally, number 3, we need to complete the logistical tasks to ensure readiness to open. We want to have school and student financial systems up and running. That was a difficulty in Canyons. I have that experience, and also make sure that special education is on solid footing.
Okay, my top 3 priorities. First and foremost, I'm excited to create a new culture. A culture founded on academic excellence where the transition is smooth for all of our students and we're able to preserve and support the student programs that make our students really happy and feel like they're fulfilled in their educational experience. I think that culture is one of the biggest things that we can accomplish so that they step into the district and know that this is different and they are part of building this successful district. Secondly, my priority is to offer competitive compensation and benefits and honor those retirement commitments of the previous school district. Our teachers are the secret sauce of our school district, and I want them to know that we appreciate them, we value them, and I don't want any of them to be worried that they're going to go backwards in steps or lanes. I don't want any of them to be worried that the retirement that they were planning for is going to go away. And so from the beginning of the discussions with the district split, I have said that we will make this happen and we will work with the other school districts to ensure that. Finally, my priority is to have transparent and collaborative leadership between parents, teachers, district leadership, and even other school districts as we create positive shared service agreements.
All right, next question goes to Jonathan, and this is from the audience. Priority is often placed on specialty programs, sometimes to the neglect and detriment of the general education students. What plans do you have to ensure the needs of general education students are equally prioritized and supported in your vision for the new district?
I had a conversation with a lady, her name is, I won't tell you her name, but she had a bad experience with her 2 sons in Alpine School District, and I felt like, he wasn't in the gifted, they weren't in the gifted programs, they're just general population. And one of the things that I felt like was missing was that there were just so many kids that they couldn't even have time to focus on that one individual who had Tourette's. And the teacher was saying, your student's saying funny things in class. We're like, we know, he has Tourette's. But if teachers have less students in all of the classes, we'll have time to focus on the needs of the one. And so that's what I would do, is limit those class sizes. And also, we need to talk about continuing and technology education programs, so that those students who aren't in the AP programs, they can feel like they have a place and the school is valuable to them and they want to be there. That was the other thing that she talked about. We want our students to find a place. Every student should have a place.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Priority is often placed on specialty programs, sometimes to the neglect and detriment of the general education students. What plans do you have to ensure the needs of general education students are equally prioritized and supported in your vision for the new district?
Okay, I love this question because I know I have a lot of experience working with gifted populations within the district. However, I've also worked quite a bit with the general population. I would love to see a system in our new district where all students create portfolios from the beginning of their interactions in the school district, whether that be in kindergarten or elementary school or junior high, and they begin crafting their portfolio of learning and their achievements that goes all the way through their graduation. As part of that, they set their own personal goals. I will always talk about my desire for us to achieve academic excellence, but I recognize that not all students want to go to an Ivy. Not all students want to take AP classes or honors. It is just as worthwhile that we inspire all students, regardless of where they start, to be the best they possibly can and to do their best. And we teach them those principles of set the goal that is appropriate for you, and then our teachers and our parents can work together to help them achieve that. Finally, as I was advocating for the gifted schools that were going to be closed, there was a parent who's here actually that expressed her concern that her general ed students weren't being taken care of. And I actually reached out to the legislature and talked about funding differently, and I would love to talk to you about that.
I have general ed kids, And I feel like, honestly, this school district has done a great job of dealing with, and not dealing with, taking my kids who, some are good learners, some not so good, and really assessing and helping them. I've had actually a great experience. I know that's not, no, I would say most people do. But one of the things I really feel like the admin in all of our schools that I've been in, and I'm sure it's across the board in our area, they know these kids. They know their needs, and they are, for the most part, really willing to advocate for our kids in all the different areas. I had a gifted son, and the youngest, and they said, what do you want to do with him? All the studies say that just keep him in the class, and he will thrive emotionally and academically. And he did. I didn't do gifted things with him, and he's amazing now, but the emotional part was what he was missing, and he's thrived as a student. So I would really pay attention to what the educators that are with my kids have to say, and I would really want to listen to what the educators have to say about that.
Okay, Nikki, how would you address mental health needs and promote well-being in our schools?
Great question. So I had a child that as a second and third grader started to be very stressed in her classes, and she started to pull her hair out as she was concerned about clipping up and clipping down, which is kind of a common discipline in second grade classes. When I recognized that this was kind of a mental health concern, we reached out to our teacher and we reached out to the school counselor. I really appreciated the social emotional learning programs that the elementary school that we were at used, where they started to teach about growth mindset. I know that sometimes social emotional learning programs are viewed as very political, and I don't believe that growth mindset principles and teaching children how to be self-aware and recognize their feelings are political principles. These are principles that teach children how to understand their feelings and how to deal with them. So I support those opportunities where we can have parents and teachers work together with students who are going through different mental challenges, and teach them good principles, teach them ways to cope with the challenges that they're going through.
This is near and dear to my heart. It's been interesting. I have, this is a problem in every school, and it's been in discussion in all the teacher and admin meetings that I've been in. This is a very big priority. The interesting thing is, what does make a difference? And this is something that I'd love to know the studies on. I've been asking people, because I think for each community and each school, it's going to be different, because the pressures and anxiety that each student and each even teachers has to, it's going to be different. So I would want to know on an individual level, what is your need in your school? What works efficiently and effectively in your school? And these are things that I think we can't just throw a blanket statement or a blanket idea out to. I know at Lone Peak, one of the most effective ways that we've been helping kids who are struggling is having service once a week in the library. It's a safe place, and they've learned that the library is a safe place. And you would be amazed at how many kids are there, and it changes their outcome. And they also have a hope squad, and it's 30 kids that are the eyes and ears of the school, and they're taught how to be friends.
My heart goes out to those parents who struggle with kids with mental problems. And I know that in my experience growing up, going to Olympus High School, we were handed a card and said, hey, this is a phone number you could call. But I don't think that's enough. I think we have to think differently. I think one of the tools that we have right now is the SHARP survey that we can distribute to find issues. We can also utilize the Safe UT app. The students can talk to counselors that they might not really feel comfortable with using like a phone number for. And I think also we need to continue to support our counselors that do an amazing job at our schools. I'm so grateful for them. And I know that I keep on saying this, the magic bullet is lower class sizes. If we can do that, we have time to address the needs of a student who might be showing signs of struggling that they might not catch otherwise if there's a classroom of 41 kids. So again, I think that we need to do a better job at this. It saddens me to hear stories, and I will devote efforts to continue to improve this area.
Thank you. All right, now you guys get to have 2 minutes to convince everyone to vote for you. And we're gonna start on the opposite end. So Mary, Nikki, and then Jonathan.
Okay, my page is actually missing here, so I'm gonna wing this, which is not my most comfortable thing. One of my most important takeaways from even this discussion is how invested we all are in the future of the school district. It is a little bit scary, but it doesn't need to be. I love what Jonathan said when he said that we need people who are level-headed, who are able to work well with other people. And I think all of you guys are amazing and seem ideal. I know that I have had a chance to work with a lot of people with a lot of different opinions and ideas in PTA and in many other areas of my life. And I've learned that the number one, I think, most important skill is to ask questions and to listen to the answers. There are a lot of needs, there are a lot of issues, financial, emotional, worry of the teachers, and I think that when we use a lot of the skills, reinventing the wheel is not necessary. We have all the tools that we need. I think we have amazing setup in the Alpine School District, which their mission statements, their vision, we can take that and make that our own, and we can create an amazing Aspen Peaks School District. I am not afraid to work hard. I have done that all my life and all these things, and I feel so passionately about a very smooth transition for not only the students and parents, but for the teachers and admin.
Thank you, and I just also want to credit both of these candidates who are just wonderful. I just have loved getting to know them better. In closing, I guess, I'd like to share with you some of the reasons why I think that I am uniquely prepared. I was one of the citizen leaders of the school district split, for better or for worse, depending on which side of that you voted for. But one of the reasons why that is a benefit is because as I was going around the county working with voters on the west side, working with voters in our central area, there were so many questions, and I didn't know the answers to all of the questions, and I had to go to district leadership, I needed to go to attorneys, I needed to go to legislators, I needed to find out what teachers and parents were wanting. And as we go into the next phase, the general election is in November, and the new school board members will be sworn in 2 weeks later before Thanksgiving so that we can get to work. All of that information is fresh in my mind, and I want to deliver on those promises to those questions and the potential solutions that we told people were likely to happen. So often the answers were, well, it depends on who's elected. I know what those hinge points are, and I want so much to take care of our teachers, to provide academic excellence, to be able to pass bonds again, and to be able to inform our voters on that. Because I have been a teacher, I started a Montessori school, I have a teacher's heart and I have an administrator's view on things. I understand how to work with the legislature. I have wonderful relationships with many legislators in the state of Utah, and while oftentimes there's been a chasm between the funding group of the legislature and education, I view this opportunity to put me in as your school board leader as a bridge between those two groups.
Thank you.
My knowledge and experience make me an ideal candidate for school board representative. As your representative, I would use evidence to make data-driven decisions about curriculum, about class size, and other policies to benefit our students. I'd use my experience as an MBA to keep our district on budget. Last year, I used the numbers released by ASD and by the cities to make my own study of the district budget. I really understood the ins and outs of the current Alpine School District budget. And as your representative, I would maintain transparency, sharing everything that I learned with you as we make the transition to Aspen Peaks. I also believe that our new school district will thrive as we focus on the one. When we voted to split the school district, there was a clear message. Listening matters. The family who needs help adjusting to a new area, the teachers who are struggling with student behavior in overfilled classrooms, the student who has fallen behind in math or reading, the special education families who have been asking for more for their kids for so long, who haven't felt that they've been seen at all. I will be a representative who listens to and represents every one of my constituents. And as we listen and focus on the needs of the individuals of our community, Aspen Peaks will flourish. I have the experience, the knowledge, and the know-how to help Aspen Peaks School District succeed, both in the short term and also for the next 100 years.
Let's give a huge thank you to the candidates for participating. And good luck to you, the voters, in deciding who to vote for. And remember, ballots need to be turned in by August 12th at 8 p.m. The closest ballot boxes are at Alpine, Cedar Hills, and Highland City offices. And the Highland City offices will also be a voting center on Election Day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And everyone travel home safely.